inventory of oxygen tanks or returning them or anything of that nature?
No, sir. That was mostly house security that would deal with that.
Would you see Conrad Murray in possession of these oxygen tanks, either bringing them down or bringing them up from time to time?
From time to time, yes, sir. He would come into the trailer, leave empty ones, and then he would grab some full ones.
Mr. Alvarez, I want to take you forward then to the evening of June 24th, 2009, the night before Michael Jackson's death. Were you working at Carrollwood on that day?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
And were you part of the advance team that took Mr. Jackson to the Staples Center that evening?
I was.
Do you recall what time you went to the Staples Center that night?
It was after 5 p.m., sir.
And were you working the advance details you described to us earlier?
Yes, I was.
So describe for me what you did sometime after 5 p.m. as far as your responsibilities as part of the advance team.
Well, I would drive, at that time we were at the Staples venue, and I would drive over to Staples and go underneath the Staples Center, park my vehicle, and then I would walk over to Mr. Jackson's green room.
I'm sorry, his green room?
Yes, sir. That's a term they use for his, his dressing quarters or whatnot.
Okay.
Then I would make sure that everything that he is accustomed to was in place. He liked his room at a certain temperature, so I would make sure that stuff like that were taken care of.
What temperature did he like his room at?
He liked a warm setting.
Okay. And once you made sure everything was in order in his green room, what would you do as far as venue security or anything of that nature?
We would do a walkthrough, make sure that there was no paparazzi or media that was not supposed to be in the venue, check in with Staples Security, check their surveillance, make sure everything was in order, and just ensure that the arrival would go as smooth as possible.
Okay. Now, once you check the green room, check security at the venue, did Michael Jackson arrive sometime thereafter?
Yes, sir.
About what time did he arrive on June 24th?
It would be hard for me to recall, but I believe it was sometime like 6:30 to 7, somewhere around that time.
And did you meet Mr. Jackson in that sub-training area in the golf cart?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. And what did you do at that time?
He would exit his vehicle, and he would jump onto the golf cart, and then I would just drive him over to his green room, and he'd get off and prepare for rehearsal.
Okay. And do you recall the kind of demeanor or general attitude of Michael that evening?
He was very happy. I do recall he was in very good spirits.
So once you then took him to his green room and dropped him off, what did you do?
I would park the golf cart in a position where it would be ready to go if he just wanted to leave, and then we would either start setting the parameters for security inside the rehearsal area, and we had our own break room, and we would go in and out of the break room as needed.
Okay. Now, during the actual rehearsal that evening, what did you do?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
During the actual rehearsal, so you've gotten Michael safely into his green room.
Mm-hmm.
You turned the golf cart around. You indicated you guys had your own break room or sitting area for security.
Right.
So once you had dropped Michael Jackson off into his green room, what did you do that particular evening?
Okay. At that particular day, I was in charge of the parameter in the back of the stage, and so I was posted in the back of the stage while he was rehearsing.
Okay. And from being back in the back of the stage, exactly where were you, if you recall? I mean, when you say the back of the stage, what do you mean?
Well, there was a big monitor in the stage, and there's a garage door that would open up to the stage, and he would exit through there. And so I was in the back of the stage position, just in case anything, or he needed anything, I would be there to assist him.
Okay. And so this kind of what you described as a garage door, this would open up, and then Michael would come out onto the stage, and he would also exit that way?
That is correct.
Okay. Were you able to see any of the rehearsal, or was your view blocked?
It was blocked for the most part, but there was times where he was singing certain songs that I would go around the stage and just see his performance.
Could you characterize his performance that evening as far as his demeanor?
Well, he was doing very well for the most part, and I mean, I remember the dancer saying, Mr. Jackson.
The objection's sustained. You're doing very well for the most part. That's the answer. Everything thereafter is stricken. Disregard the remainder.
Yes, sir.
But the aspects of the show that you personally saw, not what the dancers told you, but the aspects you saw, it went very well?
Yes, sir.
And at the conclusion of the rehearsal that evening, what took place?
Well, after rehearsal, we did our same routine. Once he was ready, once we loaded him up into the vehicle, I would then jump into the advanced vehicle and drive out and secure the proper route for the principal vehicle.
Okay, that's what you did that night?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, were you the one that actually then took Michael in the golf cart then to the subterranean area where he could get into the vehicles?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, was his demeanor the same as you described earlier, as happy and
yes,
in good spirits?
Yes, sir.
Now, once you got Mr. Jackson safely to the vehicle, did you then, as part of the advance team, proceed and leave the location prior to Michael's departure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, was that part of your route survey and advanced security?
That is correct.
And to where did you drive at that time?
If I recall correctly, sir, we drove out to the 101 freeway, and I don't recall the exact exit, but I believe it would have been, it could have been Sunset, and then, you know, there was a closure in the freeway, so I was able to catch that and give the principal's vehicle that information, and for that, you know, they didn't have to wait in traffic, and they took an alternate route.
Okay. And you proceeded to Michael's house at 100 North Carrollwood?
Yes, sir.
You arrived there before Michael?
Yes, I did.
And when you arrived at the location, did you see a particular vehicle already parked at the house that you recognized?
Yes, sir, I did.
And whose vehicle was that?
That was Dr. Conrad Murray, sir.
Showing you what was earlier marked People's 10 for identification. Is that Conrad Murray's convertible BMW parked in the driveway as you saw it that night on June 24th, 2009?
That's correct, sir.
What did you then do, sir, once you arrived at the location?
We positioned our advanced vehicle in its parking place, and then ensured that the front door was unlocked, and just prepared for Mr. Jackson's arrival.
Okay. And did he arrive shortly thereafter?
Yes, he did.
And what did you do then as Mr. Jackson, once he pulled onto the property, what took place?
Then they would pull up to the front door. I would help opening his door. He would get off, and the fans always gave him a lot of gifts, a lot of cards or flowers, and we would assist with removing those items from the vehicle and then placing them in his home.
Okay. Is that what you did that night?
That is correct.
And did you speak to Mr. Jackson during that brief time?
Briefly, just said goodnight, and he said goodnight, and that was it.
Is that the last time you saw him alive?
That's the last time I saw him, yes, sir.
After you said goodnight to Mr. Jackson that evening, what did you do?
When we finished unloading all the gifts, then we secured the front door, and then we all headed to the security trailer for debriefing.
And was that typical routine?
Yes, sir.
Now, after the debriefing in the trailer, what did you do, sir?
After the debriefing, we all headed out. Those that were relieved would head out, and house security would stay, and we just headed home.
Okay. And did you head home at that time?
Yeah, that's correct, sir.
And were you scheduled to work the next day, June 25th, 2009?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And did you report back to Carrollwood the next day, June 25th, 2009?
That is correct.
And what time did you get there?
I got there after 10 o'clock, sir, somewhere around 10:15, 10:20.
In the morning?
In the morning, sir.
And Mr. Alvarez, what did you do when you arrived at about 10:15 in the morning?
Same routine. We'd check into the security trailer, see if there was any instructions at that time, and if there wasn't anything to be done, then we would just sit around in the trailer, waiting for any specific instructions.
Okay. Mr. Alvarez, prior to today's date, did you have an opportunity to review your telephone records?
Yes, I have.
And did you also have an opportunity to review a summary of your telephone records as to the relevant time period?
Yes, sir, I have.
I have a summary of the phone records of Alberto Alvarez, his number being area code 909-273-4846. May this summary be marked People's 26?
It is.
It's previously been shown to defense counsel, Your Honor. Can you see that chart, Mr. Alvarez?
Yes, you can.
And as reflected in the first line of that chart, well, let me ask you this before getting into that. Where were you at about 12:17 p.m. on June 25th, 2009?
Still in the security trailer.
And at 12:18 p.m., as reflected in your phone records, do you recall getting a phone call from Michael Amir, calling Michael Amir Williams at phone number 562-881-2570, with that call, as reflected on your phone records, lasting 88 seconds?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you remember that conversation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And prior to that 12:18 call, do your phone records reflect, and I'll just go line by line, 12:17, a call from Michael Amir to you for 21 seconds, 12:17, a call from Michael Amir to you for 20 seconds, and then 12:18, a call from you to Michael Amir for 6 seconds, again 12:18, a call from you to Michael Amir for 5 seconds. In those 4 phone calls I've just mentioned, was any conversation had between you and Michael Amir, or were those just messages back and forth or attempts to reach one another?
It was attempts to reach one another, sir.
Okay. Going forward then to the call I had mentioned previously, the 12:18 phone call from you to Michael Amir Williams, lasting 88 seconds. Where were you when you answered that phone and actually spoke to Michael Amir Williams?
I was inside the security trailer, sir.
And when you answered the phone, what, if anything, did Michael Amir say to you?
He said, "Where are you at?" And I said, "I'm at the house." he said, okay, I need you to get up, don't cause too much commotion, something to that regards. And he says, go to the front of the house. And so I got up, right as he said that, and I started heading to the front of the house, sir.
Clearly marked. People 6 for identification. You recognize that aerial photograph of 100 North Carrollwood?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And in people 6, you previously identified the trailer. Would we be able to dim some of the lights?